Hello children. So in today's class we will discuss about another chapter of biology, that is reaching the age of adolescence. See, in the previous chapter we have learnt how animals they sexually reproduce, and we have studied that for animals to reproduce sexually, they have to attain certain minimum age. So a certain minimum age is required for the process of sexual reproduction. See, at that age what happens, that is sexual organs they starts to produce male and female gametes. So that age where the reproductive organs they become, that is mature, and starts producing male and female gametes, it is called as adolescence or puberty. So adolescence or puberty is nothing but attaining sexual maturity. Okay, so we know that is we go through different stages, that is from childhood to we enter adulthood. So that process of becoming child to an adult, actually there lot of changes happens, and one of the important change that occurs, it is that is sexual organs they completely develop, and as a result they starts producing male and female gametes. So that is what is known as attaining sexual maturity. So the age at which sexual maturity is attained, it is known as adolescent age or puberty. Okay. See, normally the age of adolescence, it starts from 11 and up to 19. It continues. See, that is the reason why adolescent period or puberty period is also known as teenage. Okay, teenage boys and girls, what we say, that is nothing but the age of adolescence or puberty. Why it is actually called as teenage? See, the life period, that is where boys and girls attain sexual maturity, it is between 11 to 19. So if you come to 13, that is 11 and 12, their teen, T-E-E-N is not there, but when you come to the age of 13, you have teen, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19. So that is the reason why adolescent period or puberty period is also known as teenage. Okay. So adolescent age or puberty or teenage, in that period, that is boy or girl attains sexual maturity, and that individual as that means that individual gets the ability to reproduce of its own kind. Okay. So sexual maturity is attained at the age of 11 to 19, between 11 to 19. Actually, in girls, sexual maturity is attained 1 or 2 years earlier than boys. Okay. So normally in case of girls, sexual maturity will be attained between 10 to 12 years. Whereas in case of boys, it may start from 13. Okay. So generally, girls, they attain sexual maturity earlier than boys. And during this adolescent period or during puberty time, see, the onset of puberty, it actually shows certain change with respect to, that is, characteristic features. So let us see what are the important changes that occurs during adolescence age or puberty. Changes during So what changes we can expect during, that is, puberty? See, normally the changes which occur during puberty, main changes, for those changes some hormones are responsible. See, in the previous chapter we have learnt that testes, they produce sperms, and ovaries produce eggs. See, that process of formation of sperms and eggs in male and female reproductive parts, it begins mainly due to hormonal changes. Okay. So hormones, they are actually responsible for the age of adolescence or puberty. So whatever changes that takes place during adolescence or puberty, it is mainly due to, that is, some hormones. So before discussing about, that is, hormones, first we will generally study what changes that occur during adolescent age or on the onset of puberty. Okay. So first important change that can be noticed in boys and girls, it is increase in height. Okay. See, normally we all starts our life from single cell. In the last chapter we have studied, that is, fertilized egg, zygote, which is a single cell. So that zygote undergoes multiplication, that is, it undergoes cell division to form embryo, then fetus, and then we get birth. Okay. And generally size goes on, increases, but sudden increase with respect to height, that is nothing but growth. So growth, it always happens with respect to living organisms, that is, increase in size. But specifically when we take human beings, that is, boys and girls, at the age of puberty or adolescent period, sudden increase in the height happens. See, normally the bones which are present in arms or legs, they starts to develop very well, and as a result, height of boy or girl, it starts to increase rapidly during this period. And in addition to that, that is, muscles and other body parts, they also starts growing. So normally, that is vertical growth, what we say, not horizontal growth. Horizontal growth, it is a lifelong process. Okay. Suppose if you take vertical growth, that is increase in height, it lasts up to 19 years. So at 19 or 20 years, vertical growth stops. See, there is a formula to calculate what is the height of a boy or girl that can happen at the end of puberty stage, at the end of adolescent period. So what is that formula that can be used for calculating the height of a boy or girl? Yes, that formula is full height at the end of puberty. Present height in centimeters by percentage of full height at that age into 100. So this is the formula we can use to calculate the height of a boy or girl at the end of puberty time. Present height in centimeter. Let us consider a 12-year-old boy is 130 centimeters in height. Suppose if question is asked, what will be his height? At the end of puberty. Yes. So like this question will be asked. Okay. See, in order to calculate the height at the end of puberty, you must know what is the percentage of full height at the age of 12. See, in your textbook a table is given, and in that table they have given percentage of full height at different ages, that is from 12 up to 19. So for boys and girls it is not same, it is different. Let us imagine here, that is at 12 years, the percentage of full height is percentage of full height for a boy of 12 years old. Say it is 78%. It is not exactly, I am just taking the example. So in your textbook, in the table they have given what is the percentage of full height for a boy or girl at different ages, starting from 12 up to 19. So based on that table you have to select the percentage of full height. Let us imagine percentage of full height for a boy of 12 years old is 78%. And the present height they have given, that is 138 centimeter. So what is the height of boy at the end of puberty? Very easy. According to the formula, present height is 130 and percentage of full height at 12 years of age is 78 into 100. Okay. Suppose if we simplify this, so 130 divided by 72. Okay. So 72 twos are not possible. 72 ones are 72. So 130 minus 72. So 130 minus 72, it is 58. Okay. 0.58. 72 into 9. 9 twos are 8. 9 twos are 18. 1. 9 sevens are. Okay. 9s are 558. Okay. So like this we get, I take 1.9 only. So 130 divided by 70 is say 1.9 into 100. Okay. So 1.9 into 100. 100 into 1.9. 009. So 1001. 0091. So it is 190 centimeters. So at the age of, that means at the end of puberty, say 19 years, the boy who is having present height of 130 centimeter, he can grow up to a height of 190 centimeter. So this is how we can calculate what will be the height of boy or girl at the end of puberty by using this formula. So important, remember this formula. In competitive examination, based on the formula, problem can be asked. So this is how we can simplify and calculate. Okay. So this is one important change that occurs during adolescent period. Second is change in body shape. Okay. So onset of puberty, it actually that is noticed with respect to change in the body shape of boys and girls. See, if you look at the boys or girls of age between 12 to 18, generally in case of boys, what happens? Shoulders, they broaden. Chest, it also broadens. Muscles, they also grow strongly for boys. Similarly for girls, that is the region below waist, it actually broadens. So boys and girls body shape, it shows that is difference, and based on the difference in body shape, it is possible to identify whether he is a male or female. So that also another important change that we can expect during adolescent period. So change in body shape. For boys, shoulder and chest broadens, and also muscles, they grow stronger. Whereas in case of girls, the region below waist, it broadens and muscles will not be strong as boys. And by these changes, one can easily differentiate between, that is, male and female, boy or girl. So that is also we can expect during puberty time. And similarly, the next is sebaceous and sweat glands, they starts functioning, that is very rapidly at the time of, that is puberty time. Sebaceous glands are nothing but oil glands. Okay. So more vigorous activity happens in sebaceous glands and, that is, sweat glands. Normally sebaceous glands and sweat glands, they are found under the layers of the skin. Okay. So once the onset of puberty happens, both sweat glands and sebaceous glands, they starts to function very actively, and as a result, sometimes in the phase of adolescence, we can find pimples and acne. That is very common observation one can notice with respect to adolescents, whether it is a boy or girl. So due to excessive activity of sebaceous glands and sweat glands, what happens? Pimples and acne are produced. It is a very normal activity that can be seen in case of all adolescents. No need to worry about the formation of pimples and acne. As the time passes, that is, everything becomes normal. So normal activity starts to happen once that adolescent period is over, and there will be no worry. So adolescents must not worry about the formation of pimples or acne, especially in the face. That is a normal activity shown by all adolescents, that is both boys and girls, during puberty time. So that is another important change that occurs during puberty. And similarly, next important thing is secondary sexual characters. So appearance of secondary sexual characters happens in both boys and girls. See, in case of boys, we can see the formation of facial hairs, that is growth of mustache and beard. So facial hair, it starts to grow during the time of puberty. Okay. Similarly, for girls, development of, that is, breast happens. So breasts, they starts to develop on the onset of, that is, puberty. Okay. So in case of boys, facial hairs develop like mustache and beard. For girls, that is, development of breast takes place. And in both boys and girls, that is, hairs grow below arms and, that is, pubic regions. So growth of hairs takes place for, that is, both boys and girls below arms, and also, that is, genital regions, that is, pubic regions. Okay. So this is another important change that occurs with respect to, that is, onset of puberty. And in addition to that, there will be complete development of, sex organs. So in the previous chapter we have studied, that is, male reproductive part and female reproductive part. Male reproductive part, it includes testes, then penis. Okay. So complete development of testes and penis takes place at the time of adolescence. This is male reproductive part. Similarly, in case of females, ovaries, so in testes, sperms will be produced. Similarly, complete development of ovaries takes place, and ovaries, they starts to produce, that is, eggs. So complete development of sex organs takes place in both boys and girls, and those reproductive parts, they starts to functioning. So what is the meaning of reproductive parts starts functioning? Male reproductive part, that is testis, it starts producing male gametes, that is sperms, and female reproductive part, ovaries, it starts producing eggs. So once the formation of, that is sperms and eggs takes place, then that individual is capable of, that is reproduction. So sexual maturity will be attained by that individual, and that happens, that is during adolescent period. And then in addition to this, adolescents during that period, they become emotional, then intellectual, so they become more emotional and intellectual during that period. That means they start thinking, and if that is somebody scolds, that is a boy or girl, then he may become emotional. So intellectual thinking capacity also increases, that is during adolescent period. See, all these changes normally they occur due to, that is formation of certain hormones. Okay. So first let us study about the hormones which are responsible for change in, that is secondary sexual characters in boys and girls. So the major change that occurs during puberty time in boys and girls, it is formation of secondary sexual characters. See, those secondary sexual characters, they appear in boys and girls due to, that is certain hormones. So what are hormones? Hormones are nothing but chemicals which are produced by endocrine glands. So chemicals which are produced by endocrine glands, they are called as hormones. Gland, it is a cell or group of cell which is capable of secretion. So there are three types of glands in our body: exocrine glands, endocrine glands, mixed glands. See, the secretion of exocrine gland, it is called as juice. For example, salivary gland, stomach, they also produce secretions. Secretion of salivary gland is called salivary juice. Secretion of stomach is called as gastric juice. Okay. So exocrine gland secretions, they are called as juices. Similarly, in our body, that is some glands, they are called as endocrine glands. Okay. So endocrine gland secretions, they are called as hormones. For example, pancreas produces insulin hormone. Testes produces testosterone. Ovaries produces estrogens. Thyroid gland produces thyroxine. Adrenal gland produces adrenaline. See, these are hormones, and these are all examples for endocrine glands. So main difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland: secretion of exocrine gland, it reaches the target region through duct, through pipe. Okay. Whereas secretion of endocrine gland, it is directly poured into the blood. So there is no duct. Okay. Endocrine glands, they are also called as ductless glands. Duct glands are exocrine glands. Ductless glands are endocrine glands. That is the difference. Okay. See, normally the response which is given by a particular part, it is known as target site. Okay. So exocrine glands, they produce secretions, and those secretions reach the target site through ducts, pipes. Whereas endocrine glands, target site is reached through blood, that is not duct. So secretion is directly poured into the blood. Understand? So that is the difference between exocrine gland and endocrine gland. Secretions of exocrine gland, they are called as juices. Secretion of endocrine glands, they are called as hormones. And similarly, there are some glands which acts as both exocrine gland as well as endocrine glands. Such glands are called as mixed glands. For example, pancreas is mixed gland. Some part of pancreas acts like exocrine gland and some part of pancreas acts like endocrine gland. Okay, insulin is produced by a part of pancreas and insulin is a hormone. Similarly, pancreatic juice which actually helps in digestion, that is produced in another part of pancreas which is exocrine gland. Okay, so same organ acting like both exocrine gland as well as endocrine gland, which is known as mixed gland. So here we are more concentrating about hormones. So hormones are produced by endocrine glands. Very important. See, among many hormones which are produced by endocrine glands, endocrine system. See, endocrine system, just like any other, that is organ system, digestive system, reproductive system, then respiratory system, excretory system, what we have. In the same way, human beings, they have endocrine system. So male endocrine system, female endocrine system. There is small difference. Okay. What is that small difference? That small difference which is between male endocrine system and female endocrine system, it is sex glands. Apart from sex glands, remaining all other endocrine glands, they are common to, that is male endocrine system as well as female endocrine system. Pituitary gland, it is present in both male and female endocrine systems. Thyroid gland, present in both male and female endocrine system. Pancreas, found in both male and female. Adrenal gland, present in both male and female. Okay. So all endocrine glands are common to male and female endocrine system except sex glands. So in male, sex glands, they are testes, whereas in females, the sex glands are called as ovaries. Okay. See, testes, they produce a hormone called testosterone, and which is responsible for all the secondary sexual characters in boys. Very important. Remember, the hormone which is responsible for secondary sexual characters in boys at the age of puberty, it is testosterone. Whereas ovaries, they produce estrogens. So hormone produced in ovaries, it is called estrogens, and which is responsible for secondary sexual characters in girls. Very, very important. Remember the names of sex hormones. Okay. So sex hormone produced by testosterone, that is testes. It is testosterone which is responsible for secondary sexual characters in boys. Estrogens is the sex hormone which is produced in ovaries, which is responsible for secondary sexual characters in girls. Okay. See, the testosterone and estrogens both are produced in testes and ovaries by a master by a master gland which is called as pituitary gland. Okay. So pituitary gland, it is located at the base of the brain and which is called as master gland because it controls the activities of all other endocrine glands. So that pituitary gland, it sends hormone, that is signal, for that is testes and ovaries to produce the required hormones at the age of puberty, and once that signal is received by testes and ovaries, they starts producing those hormones, and as a result all the changes they starts to happen in the body of boys and girls. Okay, so the master gland is pituitary gland which is responsible for controlling, that is, testes and ovaries. So this is about sex hormones. See, other than sex hormones, what are the other hormones that are produced in our body? So sex hormones, they are responsible for the formation of secondary sexual characters in boys and girls. Other than sex hormones, that is, some important hormones are produced in our body. They are also endocrine glands. Let us see what are the important hormones that are produced in our body other than sex hormones. One is insulin. Insulin, it is produced by pancreas. And what is the role of insulin in our body? Insulin is responsible for maintaining blood glucose level. So what we say, sugar level. Okay. So in the blood glucose level is maintained by insulin which is produced by pancreas. So if pancreatic cells fails to produce insulin, then that person he suffers from a disorder called diabetes. So diabetes, it is nothing but presence of excess of glucose in the blood. So when that disorder happens, mainly when pancreas fails to produce enough insulin. So insulin converts glucose into glycogen. So if there is no insulin, glucose will not be get converted into glycogen, and as a result glucose level in the blood increases. That is what is known as diabetes. And we know that diabetes, that is if glucose level in the blood is not maintained correctly for a long time, then it can lead to many disorders. Heart attack, kidney failure, then vision. All these parts will be get affected by diabetes, which is actually called a silent killer. Okay. So in India, most of the people nowadays, they are suffering from diabetes mainly because of food habits. So this is one important hormone. Similarly, second hormone, thyroxine. So thyroxine is produced by thyroid gland. So thyroid gland produces thyroxine. Thyroid gland is found in throat region, neck region. Okay. Thyroxine, actually it is called as personality hormone. So thyroxine is called as personality hormone. So thyroxine is responsible for controlling all the metabolic activities in our body. So if thyroxine is not produced properly, then it can lead to disorders. See, hormones, they must be produced in required quantity. If they are produced in excess, that leads to disorder. If they are produced in, that is, lesser quantity, that also leads to disorders. Okay. For example, if thyroxine is produced in excess quantity, then that leads to hyperthyroidal disorders. Suppose if it is produced in less quantity, that leads to hypothyroidism. Hyper means excess, hypo means less. Hyperthyroidism, hypothyroidism. For example, goiter, okay, swelling of neck. It is due to less amount of thyroxine, iodine deficiency. Thyroxine contains iodine, and if thyroxine is not produced in sufficient quantity, that can lead to a disorder which is known as swollen neck region and commonly known as that is goiter. So like that, there are so many disorders that can be produced due to that is not proper amount of that is hormone produced in our body. So thyroxine, it is called as personality hormone. And similarly, one more important hormone that you have to remember, which is known as adrenaline. And adrenaline, it is produced by adrenal glands. And adrenal glands, they are present above the kidney. Okay. And adrenaline, it is called as emergency hormone. Okay. So why it is called emergency hormone? It prepares our body, okay, to fight or flight. Fight or flight. For example, when we see a snake, we run away from that place. Okay. Suppose if you are attacked by an enemy, either you will run away or you fight against that enemy. So adrenaline, it actually prepares the body to either fight or flight. Okay, that is why it is called as emergency hormone. So these are some important hormones that are produced by endocrine glands other than that is sex hormones. And very important is pituitary gland. So as I said, pituitary gland is called master gland, which is responsible for controlling the activities of all other endocrine glands. So that pituitary gland is found at the base of the brain. So pituitary gland produces a hormone called growth hormone. So that growth hormone is responsible for the growth of that is an individual. Normally this growth hormone is produced at the age of adolescence. So if growth hormone is produced in excess during adolescent period, that leads to gigantism. Abnormally huge personality will be there at very small age. Suppose if that hormone is not produced in sufficient quantity at puberty time, it leads to dwarfism. Small, that is persons, height will be very small, dwarf persons. So dwarfism, gigantism, that happens because of growth hormone which is produced by pituitary gland. So these are hormones other than sex hormones. Okay. So apart from this, what are the other things you must know? Another important thing you must know, it is about the sex determination of child. Okay. So how actually that is sex of the child is determined? How actually that is we can expect that is birth of a boy or birth of a girl? What is the actual difference? See, in the cell chapter we have studied that cell contains nucleus and nucleus contains genetic material, and that genetic material normally it will be in the form of chromosomes. So if you take human cell, number of pairs of chromosomes, it is 23 pairs. Each cell contains 23 pairs of chromosomes, and among 23 pairs, one pair of chromosomes, it is called as sex chromosomes. Okay, so one pair of chromosomes. So 23 pair means how much? 46. So one pair means 2 chromosomes. So 2 chromosomes in each cell, they are called as sex chromosomes. And these sex chromosomes, they are named as X and Y. Okay. So in testes, that is, gametes are produced, male gametes. So actually male contains one pair of chromosomes which are actually named as X and Y. So male sex chromosomes, they are represented as X chromosome and Y chromosome. Female sex chromosomes, they are named as X and X. Okay. So sex chromosomes in males, X and Y. Sex chromosomes in female, it is X and X. But in the reproductive system, that is testes and ovaries, so testes and ovaries, sperm cell and egg cell, they are produced. Very important, sperm cell and egg cell which are produced in reproductive part, they are not, that is, complete cells, they are called as gametes. So this is male gamete, this is female gamete. So what is the difference between a complete cell and a gamete? See, in complete cell, that is, number of chromosomes will be 23 pairs, 46 chromosomes. Whereas if you take a gamete, it does not contain 46 chromosomes, it contains only 23 chromosomes. So half the number of chromosomes will be present in gametes. So male gamete, that is sperm cell, contains 23 chromosomes. Similarly, egg cell, it also contains 23 chromosomes. So very important is, if you take sperm cells, thousands of sperm cells will be present, and among them some will be containing X chromosomes and some will be containing Y chromosomes. So some sperm cells are carrying X chromosome and some sperm cells are carrying Y chromosome. Whereas if you take egg cells, they always contain X chromosome only. Okay. So in female, that is, the egg cell which is present always carries only X chromosome. Suppose if the sperm cell combines with sperm cell carrying, that is, X chromosome, it fertilizes with egg cell, then it results in restoration of XX chromosome and it is a, that is, baby girl, female. Suppose if the sperm cell carrying Y chromosome, if it fertilizes with egg cell, then it results in, that is, restoration of XY chromosomes and as a result, that is, male child will be produced. So sex of the child, it is not by female, it is because of male, because male cell carries X and Y chromosome, whereas female cell carries both X chromosomes only. There is a wrong notation in our country that mother is responsible for the sex of the child, but it is not true. Actually, father is responsible for the sex of the child, not the mother. Okay. So this is how sex determination takes place. So sex of the child, it is just like tossing a coin. Okay. So if you toss a coin, you can expect head or tail. In the same way, if X chromosome carrying sperm cell fertilizes with egg cell, then it results in female child. If Y carrying sperm cell fertilizes with egg cell, then it results in male. So that is sperm cells, they are 50% carries X chromosome, 50% carries Y chromosome. So that's why it is just like tossing a coin. You can get egg or tail. Same thing, you can expect male child or female child. This is how sex determination will be done. So apart from this, very important is adolescents, they should take, that is, proper food, nutritional, that is, nutritions are very important during adolescent stage. Nutritional choice of food, that is very important. Generally, to maintain good health, we have to consume, that is, food containing all nutrients. But during adolescent age, we must be more careful. Always we should go for balanced diet. So diet containing all nutrients in right proportion. And similarly, we must go for, that is, important minerals. For example, carbohydrates, proteins, then oils and fats. They are required in larger quantities. Whereas if you take minerals and vitamins, they are required in smaller quantities. So all minerals and vitamins, normally they are found in fruits and vegetables. Milk is another important food, complete food. So milk, meat, fish, fruits, vegetables, leafy vegetables, all these contain, that is, required vitamins and minerals for the body. So we should consume more such type of food. We should not go for junk foods. So junk foods, they do not contain any nutritive value at all. They are good in taste, but they do not have any nutritive value at all. That's why, as far as possible, we have to avoid junk food. Instead of that, we have to eat, that is, nutritious food. We have to eat, that is, fruits, vegetables, then we should consume milk. So all these contain required vitamins and minerals. Okay, so that is one more thing you have to remember. And then personal hygiene is another important. Okay, so we have to maintain hygienic condition, especially at the time of, that is, adolescent period. See, here one thing is important, that is especially for girls. So what is the reproductive phase in humans? So what is the reproductive phase in humans? See, in males, the reproductive phase, it continues for long time. So after attaining sexual maturity, up to long time, that is, in males, reproduction is possible. But in females, reproductive phase is restricted. So normally in females or girls, that is, the sexual maturity starts from 10 to 12 and ends at the age of 45 to 50. So after that, that is, females, they cannot reproduce. Okay, so very important is, every time, that is, a egg will be released from one of the ovaries for a particular, that is, period or a cycle, and normally that cycle will be 28 to 30 days. So for every month, one egg will be released from one of the ovaries. So there are two ovaries. So two ovaries will not release one egg at a time. So one of the ovary, it releases a egg, that is, once in a month, that is 28 to 30 days. And there is all possibility of that egg to be get fertilized. Suppose if it meets sperm cell. So fertilization can happen if it meets sperm cell. So if fertilization happens, then that fertilized egg becomes embryo, and embryo will be get implanted in the uterus. So there must be some necessary changes that has to take place in the female reproductive part. So formation of thick wall and plenty of blood vessels, all those things will happen. Okay. Suppose if the egg is not fertilized, if fertilization takes place, implantation takes place, then embryo, fetus, then finally that is child will be born. Suppose if there is no fertilization of the egg, if sperm cell is not met by egg, then what happens to the changes that have been taken place in the female reproductive system? See, all those changes that have been taken place in female reproductive system, it comes out in the form of blood through vagina. So all the changes that have been taken place in the female reproductive system, if egg is not fertilized, it disintegrates and it will be eliminated from the body, that is along with the blood through vagina, and that is what is known as bleeding. And that process of bleeding, it happens, that is once in every month if egg is not fertilized. If egg becomes fertilized, then it leads to pregnancy. Okay, so that bleeding, it is known as menstruation. So what is menstruation? Menstruation is nothing but bleeding. Okay, so why that bleeding happens? It is only for girls, not for boys. Okay, so that bleeding or menstruation, it occurs because of the disintegration of all the necessary changes that have been taken place in the uterus for the implantation of fertilized egg. So when there is no fertilization, all that comes out through that is along with the blood through vagina, and which is known as bleeding, and that cycle, it is known as menstruation cycle or simply menstruation. So the first bleeding or the first menstruation, it is called as menarche. So that actually indicates the onset of puberty. So first bleeding in a girl, it is called as menarche. That shows that that girl has reached the sexual maturity. She is capable of reproducing. So it is called as menarche. And similarly, that lasts for many years, and at the age of 45 to 50 years, that menstruation stops. Okay, that means ovaries, they stops releasing the eggs. Once eggs are not released from the ovaries, then there will be no menstruation, there will be no bleeding, and that stage is called as menopause. So stopping of menstrual cycle is known as menopause, and it occurs at the age of 45 to 50 years in females. Okay. So especially girls, they should maintain personal hygiene during menstruation period. Okay, because during that process there will be plenty of blood which goes out of the body, and they should maintain personal hygiene, otherwise that can lead to many infections. Similarly, boys, they also should maintain personal hygiene. Okay, so maintenance of personal hygiene, it is another important point. And similarly, we should not go for, that is, drugs, especially in that age, especially in adolescent age. That is, you will be not knowing about the consequences of using certain type of drugs. So say always no to drugs. Okay, so maintain personal hygiene and say no to drugs. So these are some important points related to this chapter, reaching the age of adolescence. Thank you.